Hello children, so this is your teacher McEnroe again. So today I will be teaching you the lesson name A House is Not a Home, and this lesson is there in your book The Moments of class 9. Okay, it's a lovely story and it's a beautiful one. I don't think so that you are going to miss this. Okay, fine. So this story is written by Zane Gaudioso. Okay, this is the name of the author. So let's proceed. Introduction of this lesson. The story highlights the thin difference between a house and a home. While a house is a building where people live, a home is a place where a family lives together, sharing the unique bond of love and oneness. The narrator's house gets destroyed by fire and he gets a new house. Then he realizes that his home is the one built by the love and affection of his family and loved ones. Love and affection of one's family is precious. Okay, so this is actually the introduction of the story. Let me just remind you, there was one poem in class 6 named A House and a Home. Okay, now you must be getting to know that what I'm talking about. See, house is different, home is different. Whenever we are talking in terms of house, it's just nothing but it's just made of brick and stones. But whenever we are talking in terms of home, there are people who lives in that house, a family. Okay, so the same thing we are going to see here. All right, so let's begin. So what I want you to do is, you are having your book, The Moments, right? Turn to the page where this lesson is, A House is Not a Home. Okay, now I am reading you the first paragraph. My first year of high school felt awkward after leaving junior high at the head of my class with all the seniority the upper grade levels could afford me. It felt strange starting over as a freshman. The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. I felt very isolated. Okay, now we just have to find out the meaning of those difficult words which are there. Awkward. Obviously, you will be knowing the meaning of that. Awkward, the meaning of that is strange. Freshman, a student in the first year of high school, college or university. They are either called freshmen or freshers, okay, who will be doing their first year in the college or university. Isolated, meaning of that is lonely. Now, I'm going to provide you the explanation of the first paragraph. As the narrator entered high school in the first year, he felt strange. In the junior school, he had been the head of the class and had enjoyed the privileges given to a senior. It was uncomfortable to be a fresher at the high school. Obviously, when someone is getting into a new environment, like as in the case of the narrator, he is getting into an institution where he is a freshman, a fresher. So it's difficult for him to mingle with those people who are new. So in this case, he is actually explaining that. He is trying to tell us that what were the things that he was facing. The school was twice as big as the old one, and to make matters worse, his friends had got into other schools, so he was lonely too. It happens whenever school friends get separated from one another. Eventually, you just have to get into another institution where your old friends are not there, so you'll feel awkward definitely. Okay, now move on to the next paragraph. I missed my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. Okay, now the explanation. He would go back to his old school to meet the teachers because he missed his old school. The teachers would encourage him to meet new people in the new school and to get involved in new activities. They said that after some time he would adjust to the new surroundings and would love the new school more than the previous one. The teachers at the school made him promise that he would visit them even when he got settled in the new school. The narrator tried to feel comfortable with these words of his teachers. Yes, those teachers of this guy, the narrator, they promise him that whenever he'll get settled down over there in the new college or the new place where he's studying right now, they will be surely there to meet him. So move on to the next paragraph. One Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework. It was a cold and windy fall day and we had a fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on top of all my papers, purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. Now, there are the meanings of those difficult words. Purring, whenever the cats make that sound, the purr sound. So, the meaning of that is sound made by the cats. Swatting, S-W-A-T-T-I-N-G, to hit something, that is the meaning of that one. Now the explanation. One Sunday afternoon, an accident occurred. Zen was sitting at the dining table. Zen is the name of the narrator, remember? Yes. So one incident happened. It was an accident. He was doing his homework. The day was cold and windy and a fire was up at the fireplace. The narrator's pet cat was lying on top of the sheets of paper. It was making a purring sound and was hitting on his pen just for amusement. Okay, so move on to the next paragraph. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. Explanation. As Zen had saved the cat, it remained close to him as he protected her. Next paragraph. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. Suddenly I smelled something strange and then I noticed it, smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out into the front yard. By the time we made our way past outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. Now the meaning of those difficult words. Stoking the fire means feeding and tending the fire. Groping, to search blindly. Engulfed, flooded, surrounded by. Now the explanation. Zen's mother tended the fire to keep the house warm. There was smoke filling the room from the ceiling. Within a few seconds, it filled the room and they could hardly see. They made their way to the front door and escaped into the garden. The roof had caught fire which spread quickly. Zen ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while his mother ran inside the house. So this was actually the entire scenario which was happening to the narrator. Now the next paragraph. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box. I hope that you are following me and you are having your book with you. So please just do follow when I'm reading out the paragraph. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and in a gray state ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. My father had died when I was young and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. They were the only thing that she had to remember him by. Still I screamed at her, "Mom, no!" Zen's mother came out of the house. This is the explanation of the paragraph. Holding a small box full of papers. She threw it on the lawn and ran back. She was trying to save important things. As Zen's father had died when Zen was small, she had to save his pictures and letters which were the only memories of his that they had. Zen screamed at her not to go inside the burning house. Next paragraph. I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother's in there." This was the kid, that boy was telling the fire people, the firemen. Zan tried to run after her but was stopped by a firefighter. The street was full of the fire trucks. Zan tried to free himself and tried to explain that his mother had gone inside the house and he wanted to bring her back. In this paragraph, he held onto me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically and that if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. Explanation. The firefighter did not let him go because he knew that the very next moment Zan would run into the house. "It's all right, they'll get her," he said. Explanation for that is he said that the other firefighters would bring her back. Okay. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. So this is the next paragraph, kids. "A fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her." Okay, and the meaning of that word is in tow, that means behind. Now the explanation. The firefighter wrapped a blanket around Zan and made him sit in their car. A fireman came out of the house with Zan's mother behind him. He took her to the fire truck and put an oxygen mask on her mouth. Zan ran to her and hugged her. The thought of losing his mother aroused affection in Zan's heart, and all thoughts of dislike vanished from his mind. Next paragraph. "She's going to be okay," said the fireman. "She just inhaled a little smoke and then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it." The fireman calmed Zan and said that she would be fine. She had inhaled smoke. This is the explanation of the previous paragraph. Then the fireman ran into the house to bring down the fire while the mother-son duo sat there wondering on what had happened. Zan still remembers how he saw his house burn and felt helpless about it. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. Our house was almost completely burned down, but then it struck me I hadn't seen my cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror. Now, this guy was worried about his cat because he was not able to find it. I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Then all at once it hit me, the new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried and cried. I was suffering loss big time. Now you will understand from that explanation which I am going to provide you. It took them 5 hours to control the fire. The house was totally burned down. Then Zan realized that his pet cat was missing. He could not find it. He got sad and depressing thoughts like difficulty adjusting to the new school, the burning of the house, and losing his pet cat made him cry. He thought that he was suffering many losses. Next paragraph. The fireman wouldn't let us go back into the house that night. It was still too dangerous. Dead or alive, I couldn't imagine leaving without knowing about my cat. Regardless, I had to go. We piled into the car with just the clothes on our backs and a few of the firemen's blankets and made our way to the grandparents' house to spend the night. Explanation. They were not allowed to go into the building as it could be dangerous. Zan wanted to know about his cat, but he had to leave. They got into the car with none of their belongings. All they had were the few blankets given by the firemen. They spent the night at Zan's grandparents' house. They had to spend the night over there in Zan's grandparents' house. Okay. Now the next paragraph. The next day, Monday, I went to school. When the fire broke out, I was still wearing the dress I had worn to church that morning, but I had no shoes. I had kicked them off when I was doing my homework. They became yet another casualty of the fire, so I had to borrow some tennis shoes from my aunt. Why couldn't I just stay home from school? My mother wouldn't hear of it, but I was totally embarrassed by everything. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. I had no books or homework and my backpack was gone. I had my life in that backpack. The more I tried to fit in, the worse it got. Was I destined to be an outcast and a gig all my life? That's what it felt like. I didn't want to grow up, change, or have to handle life. It was going to be this way. I just wanted to curl up and die. Now, the difficult words meaning: weird, strange, destined, future developed as per a predestined plan. Outcast, a person rejected by society. Gig, an unfashionable or socially inept person. Okay. Now the explanation of that paragraph. Zan went to school the next day. It was a Monday. At the time of the fire, he was wearing the dress that he wore to the church on Sundays. He was not wearing his shoes. He had removed them and kicked them off when he sat to do his homework. They were burned in the fire too, so Zan borrowed tennis shoes from his aunt. He did not want to go to school, but his mother forced him to go. He was embarrassed because his clothes were unusual. He did not have his bag, books, and homework. He thought that God wanted that he should live like a person who was different from others and did not fit well in the society. Zan was so upset that he wished to die. Next paragraph. I walked around school like a zombie. Everything felt surreal, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house, and my cat had all been ripped away. He was so sad, Zan was so sad that all of a sudden these things happened to him. He lost his cat, he lost everything, his house, those friends where he stayed there in that locality, everything. So he was just like another person staying in another place right now. Okay, now we try to find out the meanings of those words. Zombie, the meaning of zombie? A dull and apathetic person. Okay, surreal, unreal, strange, or bizarre. That's the meaning of surreal. Ripped away, torn apart. Now the explanation. Zan walked around the school like a dull, lifeless person. He felt insecure as all his belongings, his old school, old friends, pet cat, and his house had been snatched from him. Okay. Now the next paragraph. When I walked through what used to be my house after school that day, I was shocked to see how much damage there was. Whatever hadn't burned was destroyed by the water and chemicals that had used to put out the fire. The only material things not destroyed were the photo albums, documents, and some other personal items that my mother had managed to heroically rescue. But my cat was gone and my heart ached for her. Explanation. On his way back, he walked through his burned house and was shocked to see the extent of damage that had been caused by the fire and the water that had extinguished it. The only things that were safe were the ones that his mother had rescued. The papers, photos, and some personal items. Zan had lost his cat too. There was no time to grieve. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live and I would have to go buy some clothes for school. Zan could not grieve the loss of his cat because they had to rebuild their life. They had to arrange a place to live in, clothes, etc. Okay, now the next one is the paragraph. I hope that you are following me while I'm reading it out. Fine, I'll be just like giving the explanation, okay? I'm skipping those paragraphs right now. I just want you to have a look at those paragraphs which are there in your book, and I'm just providing you the explanation right now. Fine. They had to borrow money from his grandparents as they did not have their credit cards, cash, or any identity proofs to withdraw money from the bank. That was the condition of these two people, okay? There are some difficult words, vulnerable, and the meaning of that is weak, easy to influence. Okay. After some days, the workers were removing the remains of the burned house. They were living in a rented apartment nearby, but Zan would visit his old house and see the workers. He wished to find his cat there. He had lost her, but kept thinking of the poor soul. How it would wake up when Zen disturbed it and then followed him, climbed up his gown and would fall asleep while sitting in his pocket. He missed her. He missed the cat. Zen thought that bad news spread faster because everyone, including all the teachers, knew about his sad story. Zen felt embarrassed as he was guilty for all that had happened. He was getting attention for all the wrong reasons. There are some difficult words with their meaning again, miling around, okay, moving around aimlessly, and show means push hard. The next day at school was unusual. Zen was changing for the gym class when students gathered around him and asked him to hurry. Zen was accustomed to strange happenings and so did not react much. The students pushed him into the gym and he realized the reason where he reached. There was a table full of articles like notebooks, clothes, stationery items. It felt like Christmas time. Zen got emotional. He made new friends. They invited him to their houses. He was moved by their concern for him. He felt relieved because it was for the first time that he felt something good was happening to him. He made new friends that day. Okay? Since everything happened to Zen, he was actually feeling sad. And it was difficult for a person to, calming down in a new environment. So that was happening to him. But he was trying to keep his cool. And gradually, he was finding some friends over there. After a month, Zen visited his house as it was being rebuilt. He had two friends with him. The incident transformed him. He came out of the negativity and made new friends. He realized that just like his house was being rebuilt, similarly his life was also being rebuilt. Yeah, of course, you just have to move on. If something bad happened to any one of us, we must move on. Okay? We shouldn't be thinking about what had happened to us. I mean, like whether it was seriously bad or the condition was so serious that we couldn't, push forward, but it's not like that. We just have to bury it. So this is the thing that we should be doing as a human being, right? We have to move forward without looking our past. So if we don't look back, if we move forward, then everything will be fine. Okay? Some meaning of the words. Curb means the edge of the pavement. Okay, see, I am skipping those paragraph reading. Why? Because you are having the book right now, and it's a vast story, by the way, so you'll have to bear with me with that. I'm providing the explanation, and I hope that you're getting that. And at the end of this one, I will be providing the summary as well. All right? They sat on the pavement and were planning Zen's new bedroom. Someone walked up to Zen from behind and asked if the cat that she was holding belonged to him. Zen grabbed his pet cat, held her close and cried on union with her master. The cat made a happy sound. Zen's friends shared his happiness and jumped around. Wow! I mean, the cat was alive and somebody was holding it. And when they saw each other, the cat and Zen, they were so happy. I mean, he just grabbed the cat immediately. And the cat was, purring and was happy to see the master. Obviously, Zen, right? Now the summary. The story revolves around Zen. He was sad as he got into a new high school. He did not have his old friends and was a junior there. He missed the old school and would visit it often. He had enjoyed being a senior there. To add to his miseries, one Sunday afternoon, his house got fire. Other than a few papers and photos of his father that were retrieved by his mother, they lost everything. Zen did not even have a pair of shoes. His pet cat was also missing. Zen got depressed and did not want to attend school. He realized that he could not soak up in his sadness as they had to rebuild their life. They needed a new house, clothes, books, etc. They did not have any cash, credit cards, or identity proofs and had to borrow money from his grandparents. One day at school, Zen was astonished to see a table full of things, books, stationery items, clothes, etc., which he had been collected by his classmate. They were helping Zan. Zan was overwhelmed and made friends. He came out of the depression and realized that life was beautiful. Zan saw his house being rebuilt and felt that same was happening with his life too. A kind woman returned his cat, which had run away on being scared of the fire. Zan became full of life when he realized that life was not about material possession but about love, affection, and being with one's loved ones. Okay? Now the question and answer. What I want you to do is, you won't be able to, jot them down or write them down. So what you have to do is just, as usual, I used to tell you that you just have to take your mobile out and then take the snapshot. All right. So the first question, it's for you there on the screen. Please take the snapshot. What does the author notice one Sunday afternoon? What is his mother reaction? What does she do? And that is the answer for that. Question number 2. Why does he break down in tears after the fire? Number 3. Why is the author deeply embarrassed the next day in school? Which words show his fear in insecurity? The answer is given over there. Just take the snapshot. Question number 4. The cat and the author are very fond of each other. How has this been shown in the story? Where was the cat after the fire? Who brings it back and how? Question number 5. What actions of the schoolmates change the author's understanding of life and people and comfort him emotionally? How does his loneliness vanish and how does he start participating in life? Last question. What is the meaning of my cat was back and so was I? Had the author gone anywhere? Why does he say that he is also back? So that's it, kid. I hope to see you again in my next class with a new lesson. Till then, hashtag stay safe, stay healthy, and goodbye.